Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us on this Thursday, February 26th. I'm CJ Lemaster, your lead investigative reporter and your host for the WLBT Plus Digital News Desk Update. We've been taking a break from the David Archie Election Challenge hearing that's been going on since this morning. We are in recess right now. I've got many of you watching right now on our Facebook live stream and YouTube as well. So, again, just that's kind of what leads our news for this update. Of course, this hearing for the former Hinds County Supervisor, David Archie, he is challenging the election that ended his term. He is suing District 2 Supervisor Tony Smith over that election loss back in 2023. Now, Archie is contesting Smith's motion to release certain evidence. If I can pull that up for you. There we go. There's our video. He's contesting Smith's motion to release certain evidence, claiming it's an attempt to harass him by requesting personal information like his driver's license, current job, salary information. Our Teddy Reedy will have more on this story in our early evening newscasts, and we will have live coverage from the hearing right now. Again, they are in recess, but it should resume around 1:45 p.m. A much anticipated and controversial flood control project, has officially received approval. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has signed off on the major flood control plan for Jackson, making a significant step forward for those efforts. Supporters say the decision delivers long-awaited flood protection and renewed optimism for residents here. The project calls for the creation of an approximately 1,200-acre lake along the Pearl River, which stretches between Hinds and Rankin counties. It is supported by the local levee board and the Pearl River Revitalization Coalition. It's a coalition of business and community leaders formed back in 2024 to champion those efforts. In addition to reducing flood risks, the proposed lake is expected to boost economic development and, of course, expand recreational activities and opportunities along the river. Your tax dollars were supposed to help the state's poorest families. Ted DiBiase Jr. remains on trial, the only trial, by the way, in the state's largest public embezzlement scandal into those welfare dollars. He's accused of stealing some of them. John Davis was back on the witness stand testifying against the former pro wrestler. Davis is the former head of the Mississippi Department of Human Services. In court, prosecutors shed light on why Davis admitted that he directed your tax dollars to go to DiBiase. 3 on Your Side's Quentin Smith has new details from yesterday's proceeding.
On day 10, the prosecution showed text messages between John Davis, Ted DiBiase, and his younger brother, Brett, who has already pleaded guilty in this welfare scandal. The messages showed the three had a close bond. In fact, one message shows where John Davis told Ted DiBiase he would die for him. The prosecution argues the brothers showered Davis with affection and friendship, and as a result, he showered them with your hard-earned tax dollars. Here's how prosecutors say everything worked. Davis directed welfare funds to 2 nonprofits, the Family Resource Center of North Mississippi, which was operated by Christy Webb, and the Mississippi Community Education Center, which was operated by Nancy New. Both women have also pleaded guilty in this scandal. Those groups then gave contracts to DiBiase's companies. Davis testified that he knew DiBiase was not able to perform the duties of the contracts, but he continued to steer them to him anyway. The former pro wrestler received 6 contracts collecting more than $2 million. Davis testified that DiBiase knew the money was supposed to be used for welfare needs. Once Davis wrapped up with his testimony, Shannon Lott was next to take the stand. He used to work for the agency. Lott says he does not know why DiBiase was ever brought on board and that programs DiBiase was connected to never developed. Lott also questioned why the former pro wrestler was involved with so much at the agency despite not being an employee. The prosecution maintains the contracts DiBiase received were fraudulent. They accuse him of pocketing more than $2 million and not doing any of the work he was required to do. Lott will be back on the stand to continue testifying when court ramps back up Thursday morning. Reporting outside the federal courthouse, I'm Quentin Smith.
And of course, our Quentin Smith is in court right now, and he will have the latest in our early evening newscasts about what came out of today's proceeding as that trial continues. The University of Mississippi Medical Center clinics will now be closed at least through Friday as the fallout from last week's cyber attack continues. UMMC officials are saying that they made substantial progress in restoring all the affected services, and they hope to get clinics back open by Monday. But until that happens, clinic appointments and elective surgeries have been put on hold. If you are a UMMC patient and you have a time-sensitive question, a triage line is still open to receive your call. Here is that number on your screen, 601-815-0000. Now, they say do not call repeatedly. Just call, leave a message. That message will get to the appropriate person, and they'll be able to move forward from there. But again, that number on your screen for the triage hotline, 601-815-0000. So more than a year after Carly Gregg was convicted of killing her mother and shooting her stepfather, a foundation created in her support is now wanting mercy for Gregg. Gregg, of course, who was 14 at the time of the March 2024 shooting in Rankin County, was found guilty of first-degree murder, attempted murder, and tampering with evidence in the death of her mother, Ashley Smiley. She was sentenced to life without parole. Now, members of the foundation Carly's Warriors, including Lisa Featherstone, are calling for a new trial or a reduced sentence, arguing that the punishment was too harsh.
Crime is the crime. Lots of people, unfortunately, have committed the same crime, if not similar. But I haven't looked into those in detail. But I also haven't found one where a child's been sentenced to die in prison from the age of 14.
Carly's case is currently on appeal with the state Supreme Court. And of course, as we learn more updates in that, we will let you know as well. We have some other things that we want to get to in our later. Let me rephrase that. We normally have the First Alert Weather Team in here at 2:30 to give you kind of an idea of what to expect. That has been preempted because at 1:45, we're expected to return to the courtroom where this election challenge from former Hinds County District 2 Supervisor David Archie will continue. We don't know how long that's going to last, but of course you can keep it, Facebook and YouTube. We will be live streaming that. We'll also be live streaming it on our OTT platform as well. So there'll be many different options to be able to get that information. And of course, for the latest news, weather, and sports, check out our website, WLBT.com. For everyone here at WLBT, I'm CJ LeMaster, your lead investigative reporter and your host for the WLBT Plus Digital News Desk update. While we're on this recess from the David Archie hearing, of course, we'll see you back here at 1:45 for the resumption of the trial. And one note that I want to say just very quickly, people have talked about how it's very difficult to hear, and we tried to kind of address that a little bit. So let me give you an idea of how that works. In these proceedings where we go into the courtrooms, sometimes they give us an opportunity beforehand to be able to place microphones in different areas, wireless microphones, to be able to hear better. Sometimes they don't. It appears in this case they didn't. And so our camera operator, our photographer who's been there, we have certain areas in the courtroom that we are allowed to set up, and that's it. We can't get any closer. And so his microphone has to pick up all of that. Even if you were in the courtroom listening, you'd probably hear that same audio because it doesn't sound like the speakers are working all that well. Sometimes, like when you see our coverage of the Jackson City Council, you can hear them very clearly. That's because they give us what they call it's a mult box. They basically give us a connection to plug up directly into their PA system to be able to get that feed. We don't have that ability in court, so bear with us on that. Some of that may still be hard to hear, but we're doing everything we can from our end to make it as clear to hear as possible. We are limited by the surroundings and the technology that they employ and offer to our photographer. So thanks again for watching, and court will resume hopefully around 1:45.